Imagine being born into a world of chaos, surrounded by thousands of rivals, each with the same goal: to rule an empire. In the shadows of the underground, a tiny insect begins its journey, a journey filled with danger, competition, and a transformation so bizarre it seems almost mythical. Today, we're uncovering one of nature's greatest secrets: how a simple termite becomes a queen. This is not just a story of survival, it's a battle for absolute power, a race against time, and a biological phenomenon that scientists are only beginning to understand. Stay with us as we reveal the astonishing steps behind the making of a termite queen, a ruler who will one day command millions. Beneath our feet, hidden in decaying wood and deep within the soil, lies an empire unlike any other. Termites are among the most successful creatures on the planet, forming massive colonies that function like a well-oiled machine. But behind this complex society, there's an unsolved mystery: how does a termite rise from the masses to claim the throne? Unlike in human royalty, where the crown is inherited, a termite queen must earn her place through a brutal, competitive process. It starts at birth, when thousands of potential royals hatch together, each one carrying the possibility of ruling the colony. But only one, or sometimes a select few, will ever make it to the top. The rest? Their fate is much less glamorous. Termites are often mistaken for ants, but they are an entirely different group of insects, belonging to the order Blatodia, which they share with cockroaches. Unlike ants, which have evolved a more diverse range of social structures, termites have remained incredibly specialized. Their colonies operate like a living organism, with each caste serving a distinct purpose. Workers tirelessly maintain the nest, soldiers defend it, and the reproductive caste, future kings and queens, hold the key to the colony's survival. This rigid hierarchy ensures the colony functions efficiently, but it also makes the selection of a queen an incredibly competitive process. The sheer number of termites in a single colony is staggering. Some species have just a few hundred individuals, while others, like the African macroterms, can house millions. The queen, once established, becomes the central figure in this vast network. However, the process of becoming a queen isn't a simple matter of inheritance. It is a transformation dictated by environmental factors, colony needs, and ruthless natural selection. For a termite larva, the path to the throne is filled with uncertainty, and most will never make it. Survival in a termite colony is dictated by chemical signals. Pheromones play a crucial role in determining who grows into what role. The current queen releases specific pheromones that prevent other larvae from developing into reproductives, keeping her position secure. But should something disrupt the balance, be it death, disease, or environmental changes, the colony will enter a period of upheaval. This is when the hidden potential of certain individuals is revealed, and the battle for dominance begins. The selection of a new queen is not just about physical survival, it is about the ability to outcompete others, adapt to changing conditions, and ensure the longevity of the colony. Some species rely on brute force, while others select their queens based on genetic fitness. But regardless of the method, only the strongest, most capable termites will rise to power, securing their place as the next monarch in a world where survival is never guaranteed. Deep inside the colony, termite eggs begin to hatch. These newborns, known as larvae, are completely helpless, relying on worker termites to feed and care for them. At first, they all look identical, tiny, pale, and soft-bodied. But hidden within this swarm, some individuals carry a secret potential. These are the future queens. Unlike their siblings, they are biologically wired to undergo a transformation, but only if they are chosen. And this is where the first challenge begins. The path to royalty is not guaranteed. It depends on food, pheromones, and, surprisingly, the needs of the colony. If the reigning queen is strong and the colony is thriving, these potential queens may never rise. But if conditions change, if the queen weakens or dies, the race for the throne begins. The early days of a termite's life are spent in a fragile, vulnerable state. Larvae are fed a specialized diet by worker termites, who determine their development based on the colony's needs. In many cases, larvae destined to become workers or soldiers are fed differently than those with reproductive potential. This subtle yet crucial distinction plays a significant role in shaping the fate of each individual. The process is controlled by pheromones, which can either trigger or suppress growth into a reproductive termite. It's a delicate balance, ensuring that no unnecessary queens emerge unless the colony is in need of a new ruler. If the queen's pheromones begin to weaken, the colony takes notice. This is when the hidden contenders begin their transformation. But this change doesn't happen overnight. First, the chosen larvae molt multiple times, slowly developing the necessary traits for reproduction. Some species require up to 5 or 6 molts before they are fully matured as potential queens. During this process, their bodies begin to change, they grow longer, their reproductive organs develop, and their coloration shifts slightly. This transition is essential, as it determines which of these larvae will be capable of leading a colony to greatness. However, not all developing queens will make it to the throne. In many species, the competition begins long before a queen is even selected. Some termite colonies allow multiple candidates to mature, only to pit them against each other in a survival of the fittest showdown. This process ensures that only the strongest, healthiest, and most genetically viable individuals make it to the next stage. Those that fail are often eliminated by their own colony members or forced back into a lesser role. It is a brutal yet efficient system, one that guarantees the colony remains strong. For those that do survive the selection process, the next step is even more daunting. They must prepare for one of the most dangerous phases of their lives, the nuptial flight. In some species, the future queens must leave the safety of their birth colony, seek out a mate, and start anew. This is where nature's true test begins, as only a fraction of these hopeful royals will ever establish a successful colony of their own. The next stage in their journey is not just about survival, it is about conquest, legacy, and the foundation of an empire. In a termite colony, hierarchy is enforced through pheromones, chemical signals that dictate who does what. The reigning queen releases a special pheromone that suppresses the development of other queens, keeping her position secure. But the moment her power begins to wane, these hidden princesses start to transform. Their bodies elongate, their reproductive systems activate, and they prepare for their ultimate test. But there's a catch. Only a few can survive. In some species, potential queens fight to the death, engaging in brutal combat where only the strongest emerge victorious. In others, multiple queens may be allowed to coexist for a time, until natural selection or colony demands decide their fate. It's a ruthless system, but it ensures that only the fittest, the most capable, and the genetically superior termites ascend to the throne. The weakening of a queen's pheromones does not go unnoticed. Workers sense the change almost immediately and begin adjusting their behaviors accordingly. Some species of termites engage in an organized transition process, where multiple potential queens are allowed to develop before the final decision is made. Others experience a chaotic power struggle, where developing queens must fight not only each other but also aggressive workers that may attack them. This unpredictable process is what makes termite colonies so fascinating. Each species has its own method of ensuring succession. The selection process can be violent and competitive, especially in species where only one queen is allowed to rule. In these cases, the strongest candidate must eliminate all rivals before she can take her place. Some termite queens have been observed biting and clawing at one another, engaging in deadly duels until only one remains. The defeated candidates are either consumed by the workers or exiled from the colony, left to perish in the unforgiving wild. This extreme competition ensures that the strongest genes are passed on, reinforcing the colony's long-term stability. However, not all termite colonies operate under a winner-takes-all rule. Some species, like those in the genus Reticuladerms, allow multiple queens to coexist within the same nest. These secondary queens, or neotenics, assist in reproduction, ensuring that the colony continues to grow even if the primary queen dies. This cooperative reproductive strategy can be beneficial in large colonies, as it increases genetic diversity and enhances colony resilience. But even in these cases, there is still competition, as queens constantly adjust their reproductive output to maximize their influence. Once the selection process is complete, the new queen enters the next phase of her journey, establishing dominance. Whether she has won her position through combat or strategic coexistence, she must now focus on producing offspring and expanding her empire. Her ability to successfully reproduce and control the colony through pheromones will determine whether she thrives or fails. And for those queens who have survived this brutal process, the next challenge is even greater, securing the future of their lineage in a world full of dangers. For many termite species, the path to queendom takes a dramatic turn with the nuptial flight, a high-stakes event where future queens and kings leave the safety of their birth colony to establish a new empire. These winged reproductives, known as alates, emerge in massive swarms, filling the air in a synchronized spectacle that signals the start of a new dynasty. But while this moment marks the beginning of their reign, it is also the most dangerous phase of their lives. With predators lurking everywhere and the odds stacked against them, only a small fraction of these hopeful rulers will survive the journey. As the swarm takes off, alates become easy targets for birds, lizards, and other opportunistic predators. In some ecosystems, entire flocks of birds gather in anticipation of this event, feasting on the airborne termites in a frenzy. Even fish in rivers and ponds participate, leaping out of the water to snatch low-flying termites before they can reach land. The sheer number of alates ensures that at least a few will survive, but the vast majority will never get the chance to establish a colony. The first challenge is escaping death, but the second is even more crucial: finding a mate. Termites are highly selective when it comes to choosing a partner. Future queens and kings must locate suitable mates within the swarm, often recognizing one another through specific pheromones. Once a pair is formed, they separate from the main swarm and search for a nesting site together. This marks the beginning of a lifelong partnership. As termite kings play a rare role in the insect world, they remain with the queen for the entirety of her life, continuing to fertilize her eggs and support the colony's expansion. This long-term cooperation between king and queen is one of the reasons termite colonies are so resilient and efficient. Finding the perfect nesting site is another challenge. Newly paired termites must locate a safe, hidden environment with ample food sources, usually decaying wood or moist soil. If they choose poorly, their colony will fail before it even begins. Once they settle on a location, the real transformation begins. The queen and king shed their wings, a symbolic and permanent commitment to their new life underground. This marks the start of their rule, but the hardest part is yet to come. With no workers to assist them, the founding pair must start from scratch, digging tunnels and sealing themselves in a tiny chamber where the queen will lay her first batch of eggs. This initial stage is crucial. If conditions are not ideal or if the pair is too weak, the new colony will collapse. But for those that succeed, this small, vulnerable beginning is only the prelude to something extraordinary: the rise of an empire. In the darkness of the newly formed nest, the queen begins her most important role: laying eggs. At first, the process is slow. She starts with just a few eggs, which hatch into the first generation of workers. These tiny, blind workers take on the responsibility of expanding the nest, caring for new eggs, and bringing food to their queen. This initial phase is delicate, as the survival of the entire colony depends on these few workers reaching maturity. If they fail, the colony will die before it has a chance to grow. As the workers mature, the queen's body begins to change. She undergoes a dramatic transformation known as physogastry, where her abdomen swells to an enormous size, sometimes growing hundreds of times larger than her original form. This expansion allows her to produce eggs at an astonishing rate, up to 30,000 eggs per day in some species. This process is irreversible, and from this point forward, the queen is completely dependent on her workers to care for her and maintain the colony. She can no longer move efficiently and spends the rest of her life deep within the nest, solely focused on reproduction. With her transformation complete, the queen becomes the heart of the colony. Her pheromones regulate everything, controlling the behavior and development of every termite within the nest. She can determine how many workers, soldiers, and even future reproductives are produced based on environmental factors and colony needs. This ability to manipulate her offspring ensures the survival and expansion of her empire, making her one of the most powerful rulers in the animal kingdom. The king, though often overlooked, plays a crucial role in this stage as well. Unlike in ant colonies, where the male dies shortly after mating, the termite king remains by the queen's side, continuing to fertilize her eggs and support the colony's growth. His presence ensures genetic consistency and colony stability, making termites unique among eusocial insects. Together, the king and queen form the foundation of a vast, thriving civilization. As the colony grows, new tunnels are excavated, satellite nests are formed, and millions of termites work in perfect harmony. From a single pair, an entire empire emerges, capable of shaping entire ecosystems. The queen, once a tiny, fragile larva, has now become a living factory, producing generation after generation of workers and soldiers. But even the most powerful rulers have limits, and eventually, her reign will come to an end. And when it does, the cycle begins again. No queen lives forever, not even the mighty termite monarchs. Depending on the species, termite queens can live for decades, with some surviving over 25 years. But as time passes, her body begins to wear down. Her egg production slows, her pheromones weaken, and the balance of the colony starts to shift. This is the beginning of the end. And just as nature dictated her rise, it now ensures her fall. As the queen weakens, the colony senses the change. The once suppressed reproductive caste begins to develop, and potential new queens start to emerge. But they won't simply take her place. In some species, the workers, sensing their queen's decline, will turn on her, tearing her apart and consuming her remains, a process that ensures no resources are wasted. It's a grim but efficient end, one that guarantees the colony's continued success. In species where multiple queens coexist, succession is often smoother. Secondary queens step up, taking over the reproductive duties without conflict. In these cases, the transition happens seamlessly, and the colony continues to function without disruption. But in colonies where only one queen is allowed to rule, the death of the monarch often triggers chaos. Rival reproductives fight for dominance, workers may rebel, and the entire structure of the colony hangs in the balance. Only once a new queen establishes control does order return. Despite the dramatic end to her reign, the queen's legacy lives on. By the time she dies, she may have produced millions of offspring, built an empire that has stood for decades, and shaped the landscape around her. Some termite mounds grow so large they become permanent features in the environment, towering monuments to the power of a single insect. Even after she is gone, the colony she created will continue to thrive, following the same patterns that have ensured termite survival for over 250 million years. And so, the cycle repeats. A new queen rises, a new empire forms, and the next generation of termites takes its place in the endless, fascinating story of these remarkable creatures. From humble beginnings to absolute rule, the journey of a termite queen is one of nature's most extraordinary transformations. It's a tale of survival, adaptation, and the relentless drive to create something greater than oneself. The mystery of the termite empire has been revealed, but the next chapter is already beginning. From a helpless larva to the ruler of a vast empire, the journey of a termite queen is one of the most fascinating transformations in nature. It's a tale of survival, adaptation, and biological mastery, proving that even the smallest creatures can achieve absolute dominance. So, the next time you see a tiny termite crawling on a piece of wood, remember, you might be looking at the beginning of a kingdom. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of termites, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. There's a whole world of nature's secrets waiting to be uncovered.